Alright everybody, welcome back. So this is probably the best case of just how bad BR compression has gotten at top tier. We have an F-104 that fights the F-15. I could probably end the video right there, but let's talk a little bit about the plane itself, why is it the battle rating it's at, and exactly what's going on with it. Before I get started, I just want to say, if you notice that I sound pretty congested, I apologize, I'm a little bit sick. Yeah, just bear with me. The F-104S-ASA is the most modern F-104 in the game, and it is in the Italian tech tree, of course. The Italians were either mad lads or crazy, depending on who you ask, and they used the F-104 until 2004. So they have quite a few upgrades for this thing. There is one other upgrade that comes after this, the ASA-M, which wouldn't really offer too much over the current version. The biggest changes were a new cockpit and adding GPS and stuff like that, but it might be able to get the AIM-9LI, which is basically an AIM-9M. A Starfighter with 9Ms would be kind of funny, but it'd be incredibly hard to balance, and I kind of doubt that they're going to add it, to be honest. The ASA was actually the first fighter jet to come with AIM-9Ls, for those of y'all who might remember. It came the same patch as the A-10, and as we all know, the A-10 is much slower, so on release, once they fixed the AIM-9Ls, this thing was actually pretty fun. And it also had Aspides, which at the time were 35 Gs, which is kind of nutty. And so it received a battle rating of 11.3, which is where it stayed. The problem, of course, is what happened next. So for a while, the F-104 was still the only fighter with AIM-9Ls, until they went ahead and added the F-16, the F-14B, and other planes like that, which all had AIM-9Ls as well. And on release, the F-16 was only 0.4 higher than the F-104S-ASA and did pretty much everything better while also having more AIM-9Ls. And it's only gotten worse from here. Gaijin, of course, refuses to decompress, and you're citing queue times, which I don't know about y'all, but queue times are totally fine for me. I can't remember the last time I had a queue in more than like maybe 15 seconds max in ARB at top tier. And so now we have an F-104 with 4 AIM-9Ls, which has to fight the F-16, the F-15, the SE-27, the Mirage 4000, all these other incredibly advanced jets. It is actually absurd. This is the fastest F-104, but at top tier, it is negligible at best, if it's faster at all. Many of the top tier jets are actually as fast or faster than you still. Stuff like the MiG-29 easily outruns you on the deck. And this leaves you in a really poor spot, because you're in a plane that is either barely or not faster than the enemy, but also can't turn, and also only has 4 missiles, which are all very easily dealt with, because literally everything at this BR has flares. The F-104 airframe does not handle up tiers very well. This thing at down tier is actually fairly strong, but against the high 3rd gens and low 4th gens, it has an incredibly difficult time. Some people might say that we should just move this thing to 11.0, but I also wouldn't want to be fighting an F-104S-ASA in 10.0s like the F-4C or the F-105, for example. A plane that is faster than everything else in the lobby, and also has 4 AIM-9Ls, fighting flareless planes would not be very fun or enjoyable to be in those aircraft. And it all just comes back to that nasty compression that we are having right now. All Gaijin needs to do to fix this issue is literally decompress. Move the F-15, the SE-27, the Gripen, all the other planes up to at least, 13.3 or so, and start spreading it out. But they refuse, and so you get cases just like this right here. This is an extreme example, of course, but pretty much every 11.3 does suffer in these top tier games. It's why I don't personally recommend new players buy stuff like the F-4S or the MiG-23ML, because they are very strong 11.3s, the ML in particular, but they get absolutely rinsed in these full up tiers. What you have to do in the ASA is to stay extremely low, because your RWR also doesn't tell you where or what is locking you. It doesn't even tell you if they fire, it only tells you if you are locked or not locked. So you stay very low. I would also recommend not running chaff and just hugging the deck instead, which is unusual for this just because you get chased so very often, because players see an F-104, know you're defenseless, and 180 for you. So you're going to be needing as many pops of countermeasures as possible to defeat all the IR missiles that are coming at you. So you want to stay low, play like a rat, spam off your 9Ls if people aren't really paying attention to you, and then also you have 750 rounds of Vulcan, which will be enough to get a few kills. The problem is, this is what is going to happen to you. You're going to get 1 or 2 kills, and then you see behind me, an F-16C just latched onto me. Now, I'm going to go ahead and speed up the footage right here 4 times, so you don't have to sit here for 3 minutes like I did, just watching the F-16 slowly creeping closer to you, because you can't really outrun it. But there's nothing I can do here. If I try to turn around to engage, he is going to kill me because they can fire an aim down at me side aspect or just gun me down. My best bet right here is to try and use terrain and then go ahead and slow down while pre-flaring. This is why you want to run flares only. So I can try and get him to overshoot. I can pop my laning flaps and pray that I am slow enough to be able to get a gunshot off before he just turns inside of me and absolutely demolishes me. And then he gets third partied instead, which I thought was pretty fun. The ASA is just one of those planes that's mediocre at its own BR, and it's just absolutely not up to your proof at all. And because of that, your lack of ability to get kills also impacts your team. Because if you can't get a lot of kills in the beginning of the match, you wind up in a situation just like this right here, where most of your team has died. You're left by yourself just trying to defend against enemies, and then you run out of countermeasures while you have 5 or 6 people behind you. And then you die. On the rare chance you do get it down tier, the F-104S-ASA is actually pretty good. And if you want to run the Aspides, this is the only case that I would. Now you can see I actually have Aspides and a gun. This was available for a single day back when custom loadouts first got introduced. You can no longer do this. I would still always say to run the gun and the aim-9Ls if you don't have this loadout. I'd say probably less than 1,000 people total have this, because you had to both have the ASA and log in on that day to make it. But I digress. The Aspide is actually a pretty decent radar missile for 11.3. If you like the AIM-7 E2, you will love the Aspide. It is an E2 that doesn't suck. That's all it is, really. It has a better motor, tracks faster off the rail, and also has better tracking overall than the E2 as well. So just the fact that it doesn't fall out of the sky the moment that it stops burning is already an advantage. Only issue is it is still 25 Gs. It used to be 35, and this thing was absolutely incredible back then, but it is more than enough to beam most things out of the sky in a down tier, just like this tram right here. So don't run them in up tiers, maybe run them in down tiers, but I still would not recommend doing so. I would just run the gun. One thing you have to keep in mind, the ACM on this aircraft absolutely sucks. It is only available at 4 kilometers, and by the time you get your lock and head on, it's probably going to be down to 3 or maybe 2. And the Aspide won't have time to correct by the time you get actually it off the rail. So what I would recommend doing instead is just running narrow scan like you see right here, instead of running the full 60-degree scan, and just locking normally this way. As you can see though, even in this full down tier, the ASA still isn't really good. It's able to run in and out like a nice little rat plane, but that's just about it. It has decent weapons, but pretty much everything, if they are looking at you, can counter you. The M9L is still a 1 flare as long as it's not super close, and the F-104 is very limited as an airframe, so you're kind of just stuck running around hoping people aren't actually paying attention. This is a great plane for dealing with distracted enemies, but as an actual carry plane, or one that you can actually try to consistently do well in, this is most definitely not going to be it. It's a bit of a shame, because I am a massive fan of the F-104, and I love the Italian F-104s. I wish that something could be done, but unfortunately Gaijin refuses to decompress, so we're just going to have to wait and see exactly what happens. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm super close to 15K. I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.